Shanquella Robinson's death in Cabo, Mexico on October 29 was shrouded in mystery. Lab officials in Mexico reported that no alcohol was found in her blood after her death. Despite this, some of the 6 people she was traveling with told her mother that she died of alcohol poisoning. The FBI ordered a new autopsy the month after her death, and its findings led the Department of Justice to announce that it will not pursue criminal charges in her case. The U.S. autopsy of Shanquella Robinson revealed a major discrepancy with the findings of an autopsy performed during Mexican authorities' investigation. While Mexico's autopsy concluded that Robinson died of severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, the U.S. autopsy, conducted by the North Carolina Office of the Chief Medical Examiner and obtained via a public records request by the Charlotte Observer, included findings from Mexico's toxicology screening and did not mention blood alcohol content. However, it did note that blood samples were taken. Forensic pathologist Dr. Thomas Owens conducted an examination in Charlotte on November 17 and found no injuries to Robinson's spinal cord. Her cause of death was ruled undetermined. Lawyers for Robinson's family, Sue Ann Robinson, not related, and Benjamin Crump, attributed the discrepancies between the 2 autopsies to a delay by U.S. investigators who did not examine the body until after it had been embalmed. They stated that when an investigation is delayed, the hard evidence to support prosecution diminishes, but in this case, that is due to the U.S. not considering this case to be a high priority. Dr. Thomas Owens pointed out in his report that the autopsy conducted by Mexican officials was limited because Robinson's spine was not fully visualized or properly inspected. This may explain the discrepancy in the 2 reports. Owens also noted that too much time had passed before the toxicology screening to know whether Robinson had residual alcohol in her system from the night before her death. The FBI completed its investigation earlier this month and said there wasn't sufficient evidence to pursue federal charges against the person Mexico prosecutors say is a suspect. Donnell Gardner, whose son was friends with Robinson, attended a gathering in Charlotte where participants called for an arrest to be made in the case. He remembers her coming to his home before school some mornings and described her as very motivated and different. She was the boss. She created her own lane. She was very smart, he said. The U.S. autopsy report by Dr. Owens says Robinson had reportedly consumed heavy amounts of alcohol the night before she died. However, handwritten notes and toxicology reports from both Mexico and the U.S. say no alcohol was found in Robinson's blood. Owens describes the autopsy performed in Mexico as limited and notes that because Robinson did not die in a hospital, it is unknown what her alcohol concentration was prior to her death. According to the investigation, Robinson was assaulted around 7:30 a.m. on the day she died. A portion of this assault was captured on film, sparking widespread indignation over her death. A naked, barely vocal Robinson is repeatedly beaten over the head in the video. According to police papers obtained by Robinson's family's lawyers, officials identified Dejani Jackson as a suspect after speaking with 2 employees at the Cabo vacation property where the party stayed. According to lawyers Benjamin Crump and Sue Ann Robinson, Mexican authorities have filed an arrest order for Jackson for femicide, equivalent to homicide. Despite a video of her being beaten before her death, U.S. authorities have made it clear that no one will face federal criminal charges for her death. To date, no U.S. law enforcement or government official has acknowledged by name a suspect. The FBI would not comment on why the video of Robinson being beaten before her death was not considered enough evidence of a crime being committed, but said in a statement to the Charlotte Observer, all available evidence was reviewed. After the assault, Robinson returned to her room and was found unconscious by a housekeeper just before noon. According to Owens' report, it is possible that the blunt force trauma from the earlier assault may have caused a concussion in Robinson. This could have altered her level of consciousness and led to her passing out in the bathroom. The autopsy found injuries on Robinson, including a 2.5 by 2.5 inch bruise on her forehead and broken blood vessels in her eye. This injury could have been caused by Robinson falling when she was unconscious in the bathroom or due to assault. Her arms were covered in scratches and bruises, her right leg and lower abdomen were covered in abrasions, and there were traces of vomit in her throat. The U.S. autopsy found no injuries to Robinson's spine but did find a hypoxic ischemic brain injury. This type of injury can occur when someone goes into cardiac arrest. Initially, a police report in Mexico stated that Robinson died after having seizures and going into cardiac arrest. Reports and interviews from investigators in Mexico indicate that the 6 travelers who were with Robinson when she died called for medical help in the afternoon and said she drank too much alcohol. Before calling for medical help, a housekeeper told Robinson's travel mates that she found Robinson lying face down on the bathroom floor. According to Owen's report, the doctor who responded said Robinson was minimally responsive and clearly dehydrated. As the doctor attempted to rehydrate her within 4, Robinson began convulsing and went into full cardiac arrest. Despite multiple rounds of CPR, they were unsuccessful in reviving her.